was a T-shirt I saw, and it said, "Parenting is only hard for good parents." Right. And I wanted the T-shirt immediately, and I was like, that's the same for leaders. Leadership is only hard for good leaders. For the shitty leaders, it's easy. Right? Shut your mouth. Do what I say.
Right.
Don't question my authority. Right? Why are we going to do this? It's because I said it.
Because I said so.
I do leadership trainings all the time, and I have people fill in the blank on this one slide with these 3 big lines, and we can do it right now. My way or the
highway.
Take it or
leave it.
This is how we
do it.
That's right. And so that's it. So, but that's I think leadership is this thing that we talk about all the time, and it's in all these books. And I've done extensive research now. I finally have figured it out. 3-part formula.
Love it.
On the key to leadership.
All right, bring it on.
You ready?
Ready.
Step 1, build trust. Step 2, build trust. Step 3, build trust. That's it.
I like it.
It's over.
I like it, right?
I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say.
Well, but how does one build trust, right? So if we have rising leaders that want to be in that seat, right? How do you build that trust?
Courage. If you're not courageous enough to pick up the shield and step forward and be at the front of the line for the group, not line, but front of line, but front of the pack,
right?
Then I don't understand how you expect to build any trust with somebody. So if you had an employee who's really struggling, you have to be courageous and not just be like, hey, authority.
Right.
No, authority is earned through trust, right? Stephen Shedletsky, the author of Speak Up Culture, is a friend of mine. His favorite line as a leader is...
What Shed says, right?
Yeah, what Shed says, a whisper is a shout when you're a leader.
Right.
I always think of Walt Disney. I don't know if you know the story, but he would walk around Disney Studios, and he was such an authority. Everybody was always worried. He would purposely make noise when he was coming down the hall.
Oh, funny.
So he'd be like, so let people know that he was coming. Because they like, it's a big deal when Walt's around.
Right,
so he wanted people to know, I'm in the building. So I've got a book that's coming out this summer, and you and I have talked about it.
Yes,
he shows up early for basketball, and so do I. So that's why we have time to talk about this stuff. But I'm grateful for at least the opportunity to mention it. It comes out probably in June. It's called The Lost Art of Giving a Shit, Why Caring About Customers Pays. 11 Madison Park had if you don't know, they were the #1 restaurant in the world. And it's all in his book, Unreasonable Hospitality. But there was a couple that was going to go on a honeymoon to Tahiti. Their flight gets canceled, so they ended up saying, well, let's go to 11 Madison Park for dinner. And this is like $700 a head.
Right.
The team found out about this. They brought in sand in one of their dining rooms, brought in beach chairs, brought in balloons and umbrellas, and made a little beach setup inside of there to be their sort of on-the-fly honeymoon.
Right.
I think scalability is kryptonite to personalized, one-off customer experiences that have magic in them. But so many leaders and so many organizations are like, well, this isn't scalable. Well, just because you can't do something for everyone doesn't mean you shouldn't do it for someone.
Welcome to The Intersection. So excited for this guest. I guess I lead every podcast recording with, I'm so excited because I am. And this is just a really good guy that I've known for several years, and I'm sure we'll get into that whole backstory. But I'm very excited. And before we get to Frank Ziede, our next guest, again, thank you for the likes, for the comments, for the subscribes. Really grateful that we're gaining some traction with this podcast of ours, The Intersection. So again, RJ McMahon, honor and privilege of serving as CEO of Oak Leyden. But today, I'm just kind of asking my buddy Frank a couple of questions, and we'll go from there. So, Frank, welcome.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to see you kind of in business clothes, right?
Yeah, I dressed like a functioning adult today. So.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You look good. You look good.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So for those that are frustrated seeing me at a microphone, you got Frank to blame for this. So Frank was on a podcast. And if you're a LinkedIn person, I'm sure you've seen some content that Frank has put out there because he is prolific and always interesting, always insightful. I learn a ton from him and just really excited to bring that knowledge and that perspective to our guests. And so Frank was on a podcast with John Morris, who's on the other side of the camera right over there. And I commented on LinkedIn. I messaged and said, wow, what a great conversation. Would have loved to have been a little fly on the wall for that. And sure enough, John bit on that. And John's like, hey, Frank, what do you think? Should we have him in and double team him? And so here we are. So he is to blame, and then the other guy across the table is John Morris, affectionately known as JMO in many circles. And but those two are the guys that really are to blame for where we are today. So, and I personally thank you, but those maybe not everyone would thank them for my involvement here.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
Exactly, perfect. Yeah. That covers it. Yeah. So, all right, thanks everybody. Thanks for attending. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. But no, so really, Frank, very excited to talk about the intersection, and we'll apply that a little bit differently, I think, for some of your work.
Sure.
But really, I've learned so much about your journey and the impact that you continue to make in this world, and really just want to shine a light on how we got here, right? And so. Do you mind kind of stepping back and I love kind of your early days, and we got to go to the backup, right? So so fasten your seatbelts, gang. This is gonna be fun. Hey, stop the presses. RJ McMahon here, CEO of Oak Leyden. I'm here with
Michael Weber, and we're here to tell you about the Mighty Oak. It's our annual fundraising event, and it's our 70th anniversary.
Please join us. We've got America's greatest cover band from the 80s and 90s. 16 candles.
We'll have live auction, silent auction, raffle, and tons of prizes.
You need to be here. Join us. Come on out. Riverside Golf Club, April 23rd.
Check out our website to buy tickets.
Right here.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. And if anybody actually has our voices in their ears right now, I've learned more and more, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm just going to stop and say, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Exactly.
It's good to be here, and I know you're probably doing laundry or you're driving. And thanks for just listening. It's awesome.
You mean they're not glued to their computer watching us right now?
I don't know. The idea of being able to talk and share ideas is something
pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
right?
I don't take for granted, and
Amen.
It's good to see JMO. It's good to see you.
Right.
But my name is Frank Ziede. If my last name sounds weird, it's like the baked pasta. If you ever had baked Ziede, you can call me baked Ziede.
Oh,
that's how I know you listen to a podcast. If
there we go.
That comes up and says, "Hey, baked Ziede," I'm like, "Yeah, you know me." But I'm from Arizona, born and raised, spent about 8 years in Southern California, and then I met my wife, who's a very amazing Midwest person. And Midwest people are the best, so I moved here to be with her, thankfully, and that's why I'm sitting here today.
Yeah.
But in Arizona, I went to South Mountain Center for the Performing Arts, which is a magnet program, which is designed to draw white students into minority areas of a state, and that's really what it was. So I was one of maybe 10%, 15% of white students at a school that was overwhelmingly Hispanic and African American, and it changed my life in the best possible way.
Right.
We had magnets there for aerospace. So you had students learning how to be commercial airline pilots. Wow. So you had a mathematics magnet. There was an agriculture magnet. But there was a performing arts magnet. And so I didn't drive the bus technically.
Right.
But I rode on a city bus for an hour from Paradise Valley to Central Phoenix. And then I rode on a school bus for another hour from Central Phoenix to South Phoenix, where the school was located. So I did that every single day. Yeah. Well, and it was so wild because it was such a unique program. We had a bus, like a minivan that would drive us all back at the end of the day.
Really?
Because we stayed later for performing arts programs. So it was a really weird high school experience.
Right.
But they made sure that you were multi-talented. So you had to be able to sing, act, dance, build your own sets, write your own scripts. And we also had a audio-visual magnet. So there was an entire recording studio. There was a band studio, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So I did that, and then left there, went to Southern California, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where Paul Rudd went, and Robert Redford and Danny DeVito, and did 2 years.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
I said Armand Arsanti the other day.
Really?
I was like, you're not a movie fan if you don't know who Armand Arsanti is.
Big fan.
Spencer Tracy and then Frank, and nobody cares about my name.
Big Ziede.
Met my best friend when I was there, Daniel Betances, who's an amazing actor, and did that program. And I needed a SAG card. And somebody said, hey, if you can dance, you can get your SAG card pretty easy. And so when I was in high school, the girl I dated the longest through high school, this girl named Heather, she was a jazz dancer in modern and ballet. And so I would hang out around dance studios, and I could sort of do hip hop dance. And I know that some of your people in the background are like, this dude is not a hip hop dancer. But I went and auditioned for Wade Robeson, who was choreographer for Michael Jackson and a whole bunch of other people, and got my first, performing arts agent, and then danced with Usher for a song called Pop Your Collar, Genuine for a song called Ain't None of Your Friends Business. Did the 1999 Billboard Music Awards with Celine Dion for a song called That's the Way It Is. Did stuff with Priority Records, and then did commercials for, Fruit of a Loom and Miller Lite and Oldsmobile and a whole bunch of different things. Worked at Universal Studios for a show called Totally Nickelodeon. So I was this 6'3" Caucasian hip hop dancer, and also acting at the same time, doing different film projects. And then I met my wife, and I gave it all away. I followed my heart. I had just gotten a brand new agent and had just done a TV pilot audition at Warner Brothers. And I met my wife, and I was like, I'm going to leave and move to Chicago. And the agent was actually pissed.
Really?
They were like, well, what the hell did we just do all this for? And I was like, well, it's love, and I have to go.
True love.
Yeah.
What's more noble than true love?
Yeah.
Right?
Been married now over 20 years, and she's amazing. And we have a 15-year-old son who is adopted, who is also amazing. And yeah, but so by meeting her, marrying her, I found when I was 19, I sold cars for 9 months, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. But as a part of that, I learned about the automotive industry. And she got a call to do auto show. She didn't go. I went instead. And I showed up, and the brand I sold, which was Nissan, needed auto show specialists. So if you don't know, what you do is you go and stand in an auto show, like here in Chicago, and you stand there for 10 days and answer questions to the public. My automotive mentor met me at a facilitation boot camp for 2 days. At the end of it, he came to me and said, listen, you don't know me, but I've got the job for you for the rest of your life. If you listen to me, you'll have to turn down work. Here's my phone number. Call me on Monday. And that was 25 years ago. I've been a solo shop of one on my own, and I've now been a corporate trainer, facilitator, meeting leader for BMW, Mini, Rivian, Tesla, Polestar, Acura, Nissan, Infiniti, Lexus, Toyota, Smart Car, Jaguar, Land Rover, you take your pick. And then probably in the last decade or so, I've branched out to non-automotive brands. So Coach, Sub-Zero Wolf Cove, which is a huge appliance company, Northrop Grumman, which is a military contractor, Amtrak, the train company.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's now become my life and my world. I still dabble in filmmaking on the side. I write scripts and do short films and have been in film festivals, but that's what I do now. I do in-person training, typically 3 days a week, somewhere in the United States or sometimes in Europe. And I run a workshop for those 3 days that most of the time is for sales and service staff in retail settings to train them on better customer experience. And then sometimes it's leadership training where I train them on how to provide better employee experience for those people serving those customers. What else would you like to know?
Whew. Well, let's just take a moment. I'm tired right now.
I'm also a Pisces,
right?
And yeah,
you got a great hook shot, and
thanks, man.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. You use the backboard's your friend, right?
I do love a good bank shot.
Exactly, right? So fascinating, right? A great journey. Thank you. That's you covered a lot of topics there.
It's exhausting.
Well done. It is exhausting.
It's exhausting.
I'm tired. I'm tired right
Yeah.
now. So before we get into your professional life, are you still dancing?
Only at weddings. I mean, I will around the house if a good song comes on, like jam a little bit, and then I'll hurt myself, and I'll stop.
But only after kind of a little small injury, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was never the thing that I was obsessed with. I was obsessed with being a movie star.
Right,
right. I wanted to be an actor. I went to school for acting, and that was what was driving me, was acting and performing. I was in a group when I was like 8 years old called Grease Paint Players, and we were doing musicals and productions and different plays, and I was doing Shakespeare, and like that's what I thought I really, really wanted to be, which at the time was not some noble endeavor. Really, if I'm honest with myself, was shallow. I wanted to be rich and famous, and that's just the straight up truth.
Absolutely.
But I had rhythm, and I think that's something that people take for granted.
Right.
And so that helped, and it led me from one thing to the next. And I know your podcast is called The Intersection.
Right. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, there is a truth to that. Like this one, I can look back now at the red thread, which is a term that we use in training. There's a story in ancient Greek mythology, I think of Theseus. He's going to go fight the Minotaur in the maze. So he's got this red garment on, and he tears off this thread, and he ties it at the beginning of the maze to go in. So if he ever needs to find his way back, he follows the red thread back.
Nice.
So in a training setting, we often say, here's the red thread for the week. This is what we're all here to do. What's our mission?
Right.
But if I look at my life's journey, definitely left turns, right turns, detours,
of course,
overpasses, whatever. Right. There is a red thread that goes all the way through that, and it's art, and it's the arts.
Right.
And so that's my intersection of this whole sort of conversation is following passion, following art, no matter what it is.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So good. Let's just kind of jump right in, right? And again, I'm fortunate to have met you in a setting that generally wouldn't lead to this kind of a conversation, right? We played basketball in the mornings and great group of guys and we're in it for the cardio and
That's
all
right.
of that, but there's a fair amount of downtime and we've gotten to know each other over the course of time and really important and meaningful conversations and I know that not only did someone kind of tap your shoulder and say, I see you, right? I think there's something in there that I see, and how just take a step back, right? 25 years to young Frank, and what was that conversation in your head like? Okay, this guy just said, I can do this. Can I do this? Or were you like, I'm in, I'm going?
That's a really good question. I would say that I realize now in retrospect that my job role is I'm so much better in what I do because I use all the previous skills of all the previous jobs or endeavors that I've been a part of. So there are times when me being a freehand artist, because I works perfectly because on the flip chart, I'm going to draw a diagram that goes along with the selling process.
Yes.
What we call the sales funnel, right? So I'm going to draw this in 3-dimensional form. And I think that because that's good, it's more impactful to the participants.
Completely.
There are times when I am leading a 3-day workshop, but you have to keep it light and you have to keep it fun. So improv training that I got from the academy works, where I'm always doing the yes and concept and trying to take things and create humor that is in no way compromising any certain person,
right?
But it makes the moment fun, and all of a sudden there's life in there as a part of that,
and memorable for the audience.
I look at dance and you're like, well, how does dance help you in a training setting?
Yeah.
Well,
how?
I teach people all day long about their body language when greeting a customer in the first 30 to 60 seconds. Well, your body's an instrument. Can you control your muscular work?
Right.
Are you conscious of what your hands are doing? That's all dance to some degree.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's choreography, certainly, right? And thoughtful.
Yeah. I think Dave, what's coming to my mind is that Dave is the guy, the mentor who did this. I've heard him say that same thing to other people, and they didn't listen.
Interesting.
And they didn't go down that road, and I think that's okay, because they had some other thing that was the calling for them that they had to do, or they would die if they didn't do it.
Right.
I think for me, I was just ready, and here's the blunt truth: people are oxygen for me. So
True.
Dave was like, here's an unlimited supply of oxygen. Do you want it? And my answer was yes. So I get to talk to people all day long.
Right.
I just get
You're energized. Absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
It's the lifeblood of connection for me. It's just people all day, every day. And then asking great questions, listening to the answers, making people feel empowered and safe to speak up in those ways.
Right.
So
Being curious.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, again, not to plug your thing here, but the intersection of all those things came on collectively in the right way.
Right.
And I think it's also me being open enough to listen to him.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So how old were you then? So you were in your mid-20s? Late 20s?
No, I was probably 29. Yeah, late 20s. And it was funny. I was with my wife, and I'll give you a quick story. Me and my wife were dating long distance. I was in LA. She was in Chicago. We had seen each other on the road. She was modeling. I was dancing for hair conventions. And we were dating long distance, and this was like maybe a month in. Out of the blue, she sent me a box, and it had so many photographs of her and her friends and all these things. And then it had special little gifts in there and all these different things. And she sent this to me right before I was going to go to work, and it showed up. And I opened it, and I was not emotionally mature. And I opened the box, and I got completely overwhelmed. And I was like, oh, my God, this is too much. What is happening? And I was like, just go to work. Just go to work, and you'll call her after. But she knew it showed up at my apartment.
Oh, no.
So I'm driving to work, and she calls me, and she's going to kill me for telling the story. But no, she won't. She won't, because she loves this story. And I feel it's a good story. I have to keep telling myself it's a good story.
Good story.
She calls me on my cell phone, which was an old flip phone back then. I pulled over between my house and Universal Studios where my job was, and I answer the phone, and she's like, "Did you get the box? Did you get the box?" And I was like, "Yes. Listen, I got the box." She's like, "Did you like it?" I was like, "I did. It's a lot, and I'm just sort of freaked out right now." And my wife tells a story like now she's like, she was crushed.
I am sure.
She was devastated.
How could you do that to her?
And I said to her on the phone, I was like, I'm not saying anything. I don't want to change anything. I'm just saying that right now it was a lot for me. And I just wanted to share that with you. And she still to this day points to it as one of her deciding factors that I was the guy for her, that I was honest with her.
Right.
And I called her that night after I had worked 6 hours or whatever at Universal, and I was like, "Hey, I'm over it, by the way. That is awesome. I love you. This is all amazing stuff, and I can't wait to keep looking at it, and I'm sorry for all those things." And I think my capability to not be afraid of the opportunity that was in front of me was what helped me find the love of my life. And I think with Dave and my career, it was the same thing. I was presented with an opportunity. It was scary. I didn't know what it was. I did take a little bit of time to assess it, but then I embraced the possibility of what it could be. And it changed my life.
Right. So interesting. So did you call Dave on Monday, or did you give it some time?
I had to fly at that time, so I flew home. But yeah, I called him a next day or two.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, I had a 2-day 16 hours of time with him doing this Facilitator boot camp.
Right. Oh, sure.
Which is a class that he has now called Meeting Mastery, which is a 2-day workshop, intensive boot camp for facilitation that I actually teach for him. So I had already gone through
full circle.
Yeah, I had gone through this immersive thing where I was like, okay, I like what this is, and I want to do this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Right, but still, it's new and different, and right.
And remember, it offered me unlimited oxygen.
Exactly.
Which was people all the time, anytime.
People, right?
Yeah.
But really, it's still a leap of faith,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And because you're leaping into something, and you're also leaping off of kind of the foundation that you've created. Like, okay, is that foundation strong enough to support this leap, right?
Yeah. Well, I think also too that I had a good feeling about Dave.
Right.
Like that instinct that's in your gut, it's really not in your gut. It's deep in your brain, like in your what's the part of it? It's the limbic system.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
It's not technically your stomach that has these feelings. Your deep part of your brain that's very old has this sense about people. You should trust that if it's good or bad. And I had a great feeling about him, and it was accurate and it was right.
So good.
So go with your gut.
Go with your gut, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking before we got on camera and started filming this. I mentioned I just seen something on LinkedIn recently, and a gentleman posted something, and shout out to Rob Miller about a friend's father who spent time with him as they were growing up, and really identified and saw him and engaged with him, and sounded very similar. I thought about your experience with Dave, right? And this idea that there are people in our worlds, in our orbits that see something that we may not see or we may not understand, and it allows us to walk a little taller, right? And realize that there's something happening here, right?
Yeah.
And aren't we fortunate that people in our world do that for us, right? And on behalf, and again, you know, kind of the Rob's post the other day or recently in on LinkedIn was just a great testament to this gentleman who passed away, but it was just that piece of there's something there, and someone saw it and saw me and listened to me and just kept cultivating that.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that goes a long way, right?
Well, words have massive power. You can change someone's life in 10 seconds. I don't know about you, but I bet you, or I bet anybody here, you could think back to some interaction with some mentor or leader that you've had in your life and some simple phrase or something that they said to you or did for you.
Right. Absolutely.
And it changed you.
Right.
Dave, one of my first big events was for Honda. Dave was there at the T3 because I got the job because Dave's company was the one that was the company hired to do it. Right. I'm a gunslinger. I got hired. The second day of the event, we all have to go up and teach a portion of the program. It's a train the trainer. They want proof that you can actually get up there and talk and know what you're about to do and about to say. I volunteered to go first. And now I almost volunteer to go first every time I possibly can. And I got up there and I just did as best I could. And as I came back, I sensed that I did really good because there were 2 or 3 other facilitators who were like, "Oh shit, I am not going after that dude."
Guy, right?
And so I've realized, go first. Don't have to go after anybody.
Right.
And
set the bar, baby.
I came back and Dave gave me a Post-it. He just handed me a Post-it under the table. I have it framed. It's on my wall in my office on my desk, and it says, "You bring me great joy. I am really, really proud of you." And it's still today framed there on my desk. And I kept it, and that was 25 years ago. And
amazing.
You don't know you don't know how powerful your words, your impact is going to be on someone. I did a New Year's Eve post on top of a hill in it's a mountain in Arizona. I was with my family, and my cousin, she had brought her boyfriend from Texas A&M. And really nice guy, and we're there, and God, I'm trying to think of his name because I know his name. Oh my God, he's gonna kill me.
Just call him Aggie.
Okay, so it's Scarlett, and then it's Jason, but we already have another Jason in the family. So, anyways, I made this post, and I basically the message was. Resolutions are really, really hard. Why not change habits? Habits are the small things that stack up and make a big difference. And at the end, I was like, remember, you're doing the best you can. You're probably doing better than you think. And he wanted to see it. He's like, "Hey, what did you film up there?" And I showed it to him. And I remember he was like, that was awesome. I feel like I could run through a brick wall right now. And I was like, "Really?
Like this brick wall?
You can run through I just said some stuff.
Right.
And what I had to remind myself of is I don't know what impact my posts are going to have on people. And you don't know where they are. You might be catching them. Good things come in threes at the intersection of their life and their moment where you're just saying exactly what they need to hear right at the moment they need to hear it.
Right.
And you don't know.
Right.
So the best advice I got from Gary, one of my digital mentors who I've not met yet, but Gary V, he said, let your audience judge whether or not it's good. Stop thinking whether or not, is this good enough? Do we have enough lights?
Right.
Have I said this perfectly enough, or is my message good enough? Stop thinking about what you believe about it. Just put it out there, and your audience will tell you whether or not it's impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. How powerful, right? Because frankly, we all get in our own heads, right? And every day, right? And I stay in there far too long, right?
Yeah.
The mind is a terrible thing to waste. Where have I heard that before, right? But it's so true, right? And so if we can kind of unleash some of that and just for lack of a better term, be in the moment and just do it, right?
But that's only with good leaders. And that's the hard truth and fact.
Yeah.
Right. We were having a conversation before this all started that the only reason why this is all here is because you as the leader said, "Okay, let's go." And so that's the blunt truth of it is that there are many people in a business setting, because we're all in business, because we all have jobs to some degree.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who want those things, but if there's not a leader that has the back of those people, there's not a leader that's there to take ownership if it doesn't go the way that they think it's supposed to go, then people aren't going to try.
That's true. It's true, right? And and we're trying to create something, right? And I love one of our conversations that we had, as we're tying our shoes, getting ready to play some ball, that and I'm not going to get it right, but it sticks in my head. If leadership is easy, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And
well, it was a T-shirt I saw, and it said, "Parenting is only hard for good parents." Right. And I wanted the T-shirt immediately, and I was like, "That's the same for leaders. Leadership is only hard for good leaders. For the shitty leaders, it's easy." Right? Shut your mouth. Do what I say.
Right.
Don't question my authority. Right. Why are we going to do this? It's because it's aesthetic.
Because I said so.
I do leadership trainings all the time, and I have people fill in the blank on this one slide with these 3 big lines, and we can do it right now. My way or the
highway.
Take it or
leave it.
This is how we
do it.
That's right. And so that's it. And it's like, if you don't understand.
Did you listen to my meeting yesterday?
Right. No, it's not a good sign, everybody. But their leadership is supposed to be hard. And I just told this story on another podcast, but I'm going to tell it here with you.
Please.
I'm doing the Amtrak event.
Yes.
Shout out to TVR, Thomas, who got me the opportunity to speak to their leadership group. 300 people. It's in Delaware at their big location and office, and we're in this big conference room. And so we're talking about DISC first, which is behavioral assessment, how to use it in their lives. But the second sort of half of it, they wanted it to be about real leadership. And so I got there and I got all these things, and shout out again to Gary. This is one of his favorites. I say this line and I'm looking out at eye contact, all the people in the room. And the line is, remember, your people don't work for you. You work for them. You're in the ivory tower. You're in the watchtower. They are on the front lines digging the trenches in the battle. And I've got
Amen, by the way.
99% of the group is like, far left corner, 3 tables in of 6 rows, gray hair, gray beard.
You can still see him.
He's sitting over there when I say the line, and he's like, and it stuck with me, man, like a hot needle in my eyeball. I was like, listen, you're wrong. And and what I had to do was stop, and I had to look at the other 99%.
I need a 20-second timeout here.
No, I had to trust that the other 99% who were in agreement.
The day. Right.
Yeah, and this is a compliment to you. Gray hair does not
what's
need
left there, right?
To be your excuse to go, I'm just going to do the things the way I've always done them. And I think that's what I felt in that moment.
Interesting.
He was like, I've had a lot of life experience. This is how it's always been done.
Right.
Stephen Covey calls it, nothing feels like success. Here's the challenge, right? Here's the success that makes that happen. But challenges evolve. Challenges change. They morph and grow.
Right.
And what do people do? They keep banging on the door with the same old solution. Well, that's the way we've always done things. Doesn't mean it's right.
We've tried that before.
Yeah.
Right? We used to do that, right?
Yeah. So I'm realizing that a lot of podcasts, I'm kind of telling some of the same stories, and I'm like, is that bad or is that good? And I was like, that actually means that these are things that are true, and they need to be repeated
completely.
So
shine a light on that, right?
Yeah.
Let's not wait to keep that on the sideline. Bring it into the game, right?
Yeah.
We all need that.
I showed you a little clip of this thing I'm doing for some promo work for a book I'm going on. One of them is a torch, and so there's this Tennessee volunteer statue for the Tennessee Vols, right? I don't follow college football or anything, but their statue has this quote on it, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the line, one that beareth the torch to create a shadow for others, right?
Lovely.
So that's a leader. You're a torch bearer.
Right.
And so my thing is like, hey, you get to carry this. It's really hot. It's dangerous. You can't let it go out.
No, thanks.
It's exhausting, selfless, and scary. Are you in? Are you excited?
Right.
Here's the torch. And it's like, no. There's a lot of people that
I think that
really
guy
hard.
or that woman's ready, right? Yeah. Don't pass that thing over to me.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but that's I think leadership is this thing that we talk about all the time, and it's in all these books. And I've done extensive research now. I finally have figured it out. 3-part formula.
Love it.
On the key to leadership.
All right, bring it on.
You ready?
Ready.
Step 1, build trust. Step 2, build trust. Step 3, build trust. That's it.
I like it.
It's over.
I like it, right?
I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say.
Well, but how does one build trust, right? So if we have rising leaders that want to be in that seat, right? How do you build that trust?
Courage. If you're not courageous enough to pick up the shield and step forward and be at the front of the line for the group, not line, but front of the line, but front of the pack,
Right.
then I don't understand how you expect to build any trust with somebody. And I'll give you my examples in my world. So as a facilitator and trainer, people are required. It's the best mandatory training they're going to show up to. So they show up. The start time is 8:30. Sometimes people will show up late.
Right.
8:45, 9 o'clock, sometimes 10 a.m.
Wow.
There are some trainers and facilitators who I know who see that as an opportunity to establish dominance or leadership and say, hey, you got to show up on time.
Right, right.
There are some that try to turn it into a joke.
Sure.
They're like, hey, when this person comes in, let's all clap and applaud
right,
that they made it here. I view all those things as incredibly detrimental to building trust. And so my mantra, and I don't know if I think I got it from Dave, but I think it's just I feel like it's the right and natural thing to do. Somebody shows up and they're late and I can see they're frazzled and all this.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Or they're angry that the traffic sucked and this is the mandatory training. Very first words out of my mouth is, first of all, it doesn't even matter what happened. You're here and you're safe. That's all that matters.
Right.
Grab a seat, get some food. Coffee's over here.
Right.
Let go of anything else. You don't have to apologize. You're here. That's all that matters. That's the proof of what is necessary.
That's such an important tone, right?
Yeah.
And now it's this versus this.
But I've got some people who are like, and then they show up late on day 2, and they're like, man, that person's just, they don't. I don't think anybody that I've ever met intentionally wants to be late.
Right. No.
I think that there are circumstances in their life that are happening that are beyond my control.
Right.
It is not my job in a 3-day workshop to try to teach this person life lessons about the Lombardi effect, right? Lombardi time, to show up early.
The time management, you're not covering that?
But what I can do is show grace and patience with this person so that when they're there for the time they're there, because that's only 10% of the day. What about the other 90%?
Right. If you chastise them, you've lost them for the rest of the 90%.
Yeah.
But if you actually invite them in and engage with them, maybe you got them for 90%.
So translate this to business. The courage is that when one of your employees shows up a little bit late, or one of your employees doesn't get that thing done right. I mean, I think of Charlie Kim with his deliberately developmental organization with Next Jump, where there's a whole book on this. Mm-hmm. They've hired people for life. Now, like if you do something legally or ethically morally wrong, they're going to fire you. But they invest in people, and they don't look at shortcomings; they look at opportunities. So if you had an employee who's really struggling, you have to be courageous and not just be like, hey, authority.
Right.
No, authority is earned through trust, right? Stephen Shedletsky, the author of Speak Up Culture, is a friend of mine. His favorite line as a leader is...
What Shed says, right?
Yeah, what Shed says, a whisper is a shout when you're a leader.
Right.
I always think of Walt Disney. I don't know if you know the story, but he would walk around Disney Studios, and he was such an authority. Everybody was always worried. He would purposely make noise when he was coming down the hall.
Oh, funny.
So he'd be like, so let people know that he was coming. Because they like, it's a big deal when Walt's around.
Right,
so he wanted people to know I'm in the building. I don't want to catch somebody doing those things. It's like, expect me here.
Right.
And I want you to understand that I'm here as the leader in this situation. I always think about that, right? He lets people know he's there, and he doesn't try to catch someone in some conversation or moment. Courage for trust.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's also the piece that, we need to be vulnerable as well, right? And so how do we show that and the resilience that sometimes comes with that, or hopefully always comes with that?
Yeah.
Right?
But you think vulnerability, I think Brene Brown. I don't know if you know the story. I'm telling a lot of stories. I hope that's okay. But she tells this story where she's swimming across the lake with her husband.
No.
And it's something that they do as a family. And so they get about halfway across, and she's swimming, and she says to her husband, I just love you. I love being here with the family. And he's like, uh-huh. And so they keep swimming, and they get like to the side, and they're swimming back, and she's pissed. She's like, I'm trying to be romantic with you and all this stuff. And she, does the same thing. She's like, this is just so really great, right? And he's like, yeah. And they get to the other side back, and she's like, what is your deal? Like, I'm trying to be romantic with you and vulnerable and all this stuff. And he's like, honey, I'm trying not to drown. Like he was literally like swimming so hard. And she realized like she's being vulnerable, but he's vulnerable state too.
Exactly.
So one of my leaders, a woman named Tina, she got vulnerable with me one time, and it was really overwhelming in life. And she was like, I think I'm sharing too much. And I said to her, I said, I think you're sharing exactly the amount that you need to share with me. This isn't employee and department head. This isn't coworker and coworker. You're my friend, and I'm here with you.
Right.
And I think
I'm present for and with you. Right.
I have to also reciprocate that trust as the employee to the leader.
Right. Right.
That this is important in that way. The other thing is if I'm the employee and I become vulnerable with you, you can't compromise that trust in that way.
No.
Because man, I saw Roof Man.
Okay.
Have you seen this movie?
No,
I would highly recommend it. It's got Channing Tatum and Reese. I think it's Reese. No, it's not Reese Witherspoon. But anyways, it's really good about a criminal and does this stuff. But the boss goes to one of the guys, and this woman goes to the boss, and she's like, "Hey, I need this off because of my kids." And he's like, "This sounds like some home stuff, not work stuff."
Oh.
And that line, my son was watching this movie with me. He's 15, and my son was like, "Asshole." I was like, "You nailed it.
Yes.
You nailed it, son." Right? That there isn't a separation. This concept of work-life balance is so ridiculous.
Right.
People spend more time at work than they do at home.
Right.
The better that is, the better this is going to be. So,
wait, is that true?
yeah.
You can connect those dots? Really?
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
Imagine that, right? Yeah, it's the whole, like, the more we point our fingers, like, you're not doing this versus how can I help? Like, help me understand.
Yeah.
Huge, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's how we try to move the needle. That's how we try to get things done. That's how we engage with folks. That's how we're present, right? That's good stuff. Yeah, well done. Good. So we've talked a little bit about your experiences. You learn a great deal in these programs, in your engagement with folks. Has that led you to write any notes down?
Yeah, I wrote a book.
Really?
Yeah, that's a really weird segue to Frank, did you write a book? Yeah, so I've got a book that's coming out this summer, and you and I have talked about it.
Yes,
he shows up early for basketball, and so do I, so that's why we have time to talk about this stuff. But I'm grateful for at least the opportunity to mention it. It comes out probably in June. It's called The Lost Art of Giving a Shit, Why Caring About Customers Pays. And it is a bit of a training manual. It's only got 5 sections. Either you do or you don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. If you don't give a shit, figure out why, because it's pretty beneficial. Why we should give a shit, which is all the financial, spiritual, holistic, business benefits of actually caring about what you do.
Right.
How to give a shit with a thing called the Give a Shit Kit. And the last thing is people who do. So these are about 10 different stories from either multi-million-dollar companies or just my mom and my wife, legitimate examples of people who go the extra mile.
Right.
So some similar books out there are like Start With Why from Simon Sinek or Unreasonable Hospitality from Will Guidara. These are people who massively inspired me. And I can sum up the whole book in the big idea, which is on the very first page. It's the big idea comes in 3 parts. Part 1, according to Gallup, in 2024, there was $7.8 trillion in lost productivity due to disengaged employees. It was
$1 trillion. $7.8 trillion.
Yeah, about $1 billion of that was just in the United States alone, just in 1 year. Part 2, some of you don't give a shit. And part 3, some of you are more upset than I said the word shit than the first thing I said. And so the concept is like, I thought long and hard about the different names for the book. Lost Art of Caring, Lost Art of Giving a Crap. And I think there is a gravity to what's really going on in the workplace that we need to be able to say, hey, either you give a shit or you don't.
Right.
And do you care about me? And I think there is a difference between caring and actually giving a shit. I have several people that I know that are in the military or former vets, a couple of Navy SEALs and a Recon Marine and an Army Ranger in the Army Ranger Hall of Fame. And they talk all the time about their drill instructors or their leaders always say that guy's got a lot of gas, which was the give a shit factor.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it's kind of all come full circle. I've got a chance to work with Page 2 publisher out of Canada, the same publisher as Stephen Shedletsky, who's been my writing mentor.
Right.
And I'm just excited to bring it forward and say, just like I said earlier, I'm going to let the audience judge.
Right.
I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if it's going to impact who it's going to impact or what, but I hope it's beneficial and useful. And my first editor was like, is this a book that you couldn't live without writing? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, great. Because if you can't answer yes to that, then you shouldn't be doing it. Like, it's got to be something that you can't live without.
Right.
And there are many people write books just to write a book. And she was like, do you have, and I was like, no, I feel like I have something to say.
Right.
And she's like, great.
And that's got to feed you, right? So yes, it's important for, and allowing the readership to judge, right? but it's also got to feed you, right? To that
Yep.
to that very point, right? And,
Yep.
and so at what point kind of in that process did you kind of, all right, I got to put this away and step away. I'm not sure if this is feeding me. It feels like I'm on the, whatever, the treadmill trying to figure this thing out. Or, were any steps along the way that challenging for you?
Well, I wrote it during COVID by speaking it into existence. So I used Microsoft's voice to text technology, literally sat there in front of a microphone during the pandemic and spoke 30,000 words into the thing.
Wow.
Gave it to a friend of mine who's an editor. He made it sound like I didn't sound like a crazy person. And then I had
How long did that take, by the way?
Not long. But I had it. I just had it. And I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know how. I had two other friends who had also self-published. But then I met Shed and I offhand said, hey, would you read it? And he was like, yeah. He's like, it's good. I'll take it to my publisher. And then it went on from there.
Boom.
So, but it was the pandemic, man. It was wild. We're all locked in our homes.
Right.
And I was like, I better use this time effectively.
Right.
And it was the last 20 years of doing this every two to 3 weeks a month, every single month, over 10,000 people trained.
Right.
I got to share some of this with some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
No, seriously. I mean, we're all going to get at least a nugget, if not dozens of them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if we're not trying to get better, then kind of shame on us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, the rubber hits the road for you, right? That this is many of the trainings that you do, as you mentioned earlier, are mandatory, right?
Yeah.
But you're doing your job, and despite their lack of interest in being in the room, they're still gleaning something, right? And so how do you kind of use all those skills that you referenced earlier to really kind of engage those folks that and I'm sure you can tell who's in and who's still kind of on the sideline?
Well, I think that this conversation just came up with this other guy, Jeff Welsh. In his experience, he said there's 3 different people in a training: the vacationer, which is the person who's like, "Sure, I'll be here. This is
exactly
fine.
Right. I'm not doing my job. Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Come on." The sponge, who's like, "I'm here for all of it. Yes,
can't wait.
I want it. And
I want
then
it all."
The hostage, who's there against their will. And he said, "How do you get the hostage to turn into a vacationer or a sponge?" And I said, "Sometimes you need to leave the hostage alone.
Ooh, yeah.
Then you're not going to get them."
Right.
And the vacationers and the sponges are probably going to be better at getting the hostage involved than I ever will.
That's such a good call. Right.
So facilitation at its root, at its heart, is participant-driven.
Yep.
It's question-based, the Socratic method. It's
Yep.
straight up.
I love it.
Let me ask you a bunch of questions, and you teach me what you know.
Right.
And at the end, I'll add my 20% to the teacher solution, which is the stuff you didn't say.
Right.
The problem is that people believe that lecture is learning, that telling is teaching.
No.
It's not. It's rote memory. It's testing at the end. And you're great. You're an expert now.
Right. What does that mean then? Right.
I just started this thing that you saw called Facilitation Fridays.
Right.
Where every week I'm putting out one video, facilitation tips. And the very first one was lectures, not learning.
Right.
I said, you have to get your audience engaged. I stopped calling it audience, your participants engaged. I got my first comment on TikTok. Yeah, I started TikTok. TikTok, y'all.
Wow.
It's terrifying.
Right.
Terrifying. It's so
you won't see me there. So
anyways,
yeah, you
I was
gotta
like,
tell me.
I
Tell me when you put something out there.
But I mean, because LinkedIn's where I'm primarily at.
Right.
But I got my first comment on LinkedIn, and the guy was like, "Lecture's not learning. That's literally the definition in the dictionary." And he was angry. And I was like, great. If you want to sit for 3 days in a classroom and have somebody speak to you for 3 days, enjoy. But in my experience, 2 decades, thousands of people, they don't like it.
They don't really like that.
And the best compliment I've ever got is after the first day, this is 8:30 to 4, right? So a full day.
Yep.
We're wrapping up. There's a guy still taking notes on the last topic we talked about. And he looks up from his paper and goes, it's 4:30 already? And I was like,
wow.
Yeah. He's like, this day flew by. And I was like,
what a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. And he's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And it's like, that's what you want.
Right.
You know,
totally.
but that was only because we did a ton of activities and a ton of questions.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do every Friday is put out a little clip, 52 different ideas
Love it.
on how, you know, you can engage people. And the next one that I might shoot with you right here in a minute is the smart is the room. I got that from Claude Silver. And the idea is if you come in to run any sort of meeting or workshop and you're basically saying to everyone, listen, I'm the smartest person in the room, everybody shut up, listen to me, and that's how it will work. You're encouraging them not to talk more. You're telling them to keep quiet, and that's not going to work.
Right.
What audacity and ego does it take for you to think that you're smarter than 15 other people in the room, their collective intelligence?
Right.
That is just terrible. So let it go and start asking questions and have faith in the people that you're leading in the meeting that they do know what you're going to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't we, I mean, we talked a little bit about this before we started rolling. You know, there aren't many rooms that I walk into that I want to be the smartest person in the room, right? And gosh, and I'm grateful that I'm not. Like I have really good people, we have really good people in and around us, right? That I learn continuously from folks. And you know, it's the whole Ted Lasso. If you're a little curious, you might actually learn something, right?
I think the best way I'm starting to position it now is you need to be the best insider in the room.
Ooh.
So if you're on
unpack that a little bit.
If you're on a podcast about baseball, like you want to ask the other guests about these things, but you need to be the best insider. You know the inside workings of this thing.
Right.
And you can take whatever they're saying and add to it, or you can, if needed, correct it.
Right.
But that's not the point of what you're trying to do. But that's really what you have to have.
Right.
All this background information that you do not slam on the table and say, I'm the subject matter expert, I'm the SME, everybody follow my lead.
Yes.
No.
Shine that light over here, right?
Yep.
And everyone listen to me. Put your pencils down and listen to me, right?
So questions are the key. And that sounds simple. It is not. There's a lot of people who think like, oh, it's just ask great questions. And I was like, you don't know what great questions are yet.
Right.
So they don't know how to keep that going and then how to use drill down tools to keep the conversation fluid and engaging all the way throughout.
Completely. And by the way, use 2 of these and less of 1, right?
Yep.
And so you're listening so you can ask a really good question.
And you can catch more of these tips on Facilitation Fridays, available on LinkedIn every single Friday. That's right.
Frank T. Ziede.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why the T?
It stands for Tyrone. My mother named me after Tyrone Power. He was a famous actor in swashbuckling movies back in the day.
Yes, he was. Yes.
Yeah. Then I went to an African-American high school where every single person was like, your name's not Tyrone. And I was like, no, it is.
It actually is.
It is, yeah. So I kept the T in there because if I go back home to Arizona, up until it was 18, I went by Ty. And then after that, I'm Frank. So I still keep the T in there sort of as an homage to who I used to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
How did I not know that before? I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I didn't ask the right question.
That's okay. But more and more, I just go by FTZ. And that's what everybody knows me as.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So one aspect of the way that you kind of live your life and engage with folks are your thank you notes.
Yes.
Right. So for those that are part of Frank's world on LinkedIn, you've seen posts. For those that have not, you're going to get a masterclass right now. But talk a little bit about the genesis and I think we understand the importance of it, but I love your take on really the core of what a thank you note is and then how you've kind of just brought it to a whole new level.
I don't know where it exactly came from. I still am trying to figure that out. I think
Isn't that interesting?
Well, I think the root of this whole conversation about personalization as a demonstration of gratitude came from Will Guidara and 11 Madison Park in his book Unreasonable Hospitality. This New York Times best-selling book, an author, he gets, he does keynotes for $100,000 or whatever. Before that happened, before he became famous, BMW's the client I worked for was showing videos that they did. They went and interviewed them at their place. And it kept coming back to this idea that it's not some overarching thing that we can do for everybody in the restaurant. If I can make something so incredibly personalized for this one table at the restaurant, incredibly different than any other table, that's where value happens. And so I found that if something is not truly personalized, it's generic and it's not real gratitude. And so in my world, high-end retail, these people are selling a $180,000 car. I ask them, what do you do for follow-up? 24-hour email or text, 48-hour email or text, 6-month follow-up, maybe a Christmas card or a birthday card because they have their driver's license information.
Yep.
So some CRM.
So they have that data, right?
If you don't know, CRM is customer relationship management tool. Like it spits out this information, says follow up now. I said, how's that going? Right. And they're like, fine. And I said, when you as an employee get a follow-up from a hotel or a restaurant or an airline, what do you do with that email? And instantaneously they say delete it and they block it. And I'm like, so why would you think it's effective with your customers?
Right.
And this is an airline who you spent a $300 plane ticket. You just sold the customer a $180,000 car.
Right.
Shouldn't it be better? And what I realized is that when I asked them, what do you do for follow-up? Somebody in the room will say, thank you cards. Our dealership does thank you cards. And I said, oh, cool. That sounds like a good idea. You should do that.
Right.
So what I realized was I was being hypocritical. I was asking them to take it on faith that this thing works.
Right.
So now, really after the pandemic again, which was a bellwether moment, it slapped me in the face. Like I have to start practicing what I preach. For every single class that I've taught, that I have a 3-day workshop, for the last 5 years, I've done handwritten custom thank you cards. I put a big board up on the wall on the very first day, and I ask favorite movie, TV show, favorite sports team, favorite personal passion or hobby, city you're from. And I use that information, and I build this custom thank you card with artwork and detailed drawings and stories and things. And I say, do these work? And they're like, oh, yeah, I think they work. And I said, well, let's test it. Go to the back. There's a table in the back, and there's cards there for every single person. Go grab a card, look at it, see if it's corny, see if it works, compare it with the other people in the room.
Right.
And this is always what happens. They'll be like, meh, all right.
Yeah.
Card, Somebody won't even open it fast.
Right,
They'll be like, this is going to be cheesy. And then either they do it or other people around the room, they see them start to do it, and they'll do the double take. They'll be like,
wait,
what? And then they'll start to look at somebody else's, and so Seth Godin, who wrote a book called Purple Cow, taught me this message of a purple cow is someone, when they see a purple cow, they stop, they take a picture, and they tell others so that they can prove that this thing happened. So the stop is called the double take.
Yep.
That's when someone stops and questions reality. Did this just happen?
Right.
The next thing is, do they take a picture? And I don't tell them that until after, because there's certain moments where I look around there and people are already pulling out their phones and taking a picture of the card.
Fascinating.
I'm like, why are you taking a photo? It's probably because you're going to sell it. You show it to somebody else.
Right.
And I say to them, I don't want anything in return. I don't want your praise or compliments. I just want you now, because you felt how great it is. I want you to do this with one customer a month for the next 2 years. The cards I buy are $6 from Walgreens. That's 24 cards.
Right.
So it's a $6 investment for 2 years for 24 customers. What's the worst that happens? You get 5 to 10 of those people who go on Dealer Rater or Google reviews and say, RJ is the best salesperson I've ever dealt with in my life. And I don't care if you're in a hospital or if you're at Oak Leyden or anywhere else. If you've got somebody you want to demonstrate gratitude to, it cannot be anything transactional.
Right.
And it will come full circle. You and I were talking about doing this podcast. Like, why are you doing it? Well, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
There's no spreadsheet or some ROI that's going to prove to you that investing in this gear and putting this out in the time and effort and energy is going to somehow come back with some donor who's like, there was this one episode that really got me, and that's why I'm here.
That's why I'm giving them $1 million.
Right. You'd hope that, but it's the right thing to do because you're talking about things that matter.
Right.
So the thank you cards became that thing for me. And I'm exhausted by the end of 3 days having to do sometimes 24 cards.
Right.
But in a great way. I'm wrung out for the best possible reasons. Right.
So good.
And I never ever look at it as work. Because this is the science of it is true. When you look at oxytocin, you absolutely get just as much out of doing something, a kind gesture or act for someone, as the person who actually gets it.
Right. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Right. That the science behind that is true.
Yeah.
Right. That, again, going back to your oxygen, right? I'm fed by that. You're fed by that, right? By doing something good. Again, kind of walking a little bit taller, feeling a little bit better, right? Yeah.
And let me be clear, out of doing it for thousands of times, I have had about 5 or 6 people who leave their card on the table when they left.
What?
Yeah. And so I've again, you got to leave the hostage alone sometimes.
Absolutely.
You cannot take it personal. There's something going on there.
Do you burn that card? What do you do with the card then?
I leave it on the table.
And just let the cleaning crew take care of it, right? Or whatever.
But it's
interesting.
I'm just like there are certain times
right.
everything's not for everyone.
Right.
It's okay.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And that truly is a learning moment also, right? Yeah. Knowing that, all right, I'm going to reach or I'm going to engage with X, and you know what? And if there's Y that doesn't, that's okay too.
But the biggest message I think to anybody who's listening to this is that if you're going to do any gesture for any person, and the thing you're going to do could apply to any other person, like I'm going to make this gift happen.
Right.
Would everybody like that gift? Then it's generic. Stop and start over again. 11 Madison Park had if you don't know, they were the #1 restaurant in the world. And it's all in his book, Unreasonable Hospitality. But there was a couple that was going to go on a honeymoon to Tahiti. Their flight gets canceled, so they ended up saying, well, let's go to 11 Madison Park for dinner. And this is like $700 a head.
Right.
The team found out about this. They brought in sand in one of their dining rooms, brought in beach chairs, brought in balloons and umbrellas, and made a little beach setup inside of there to be their sort of on-the-fly honeymoon.
Right.
That's not going to work from somebody who's from North Dakota who's come into New York to go see a Rangers game.
Right.
Let me build you a little beach.
Exactly.
But that's good. I think scalability is kryptonite to personalized one-off customer experiences that have magic in them. But so many leaders and so many organizations are like, well, this isn't scalable. Well, just because you can't do something for everyone doesn't mean you shouldn't do it for someone. That one-off mindset is actually the best strategy and approach, because you're not going to reach everybody. Everybody doesn't want to be reached. There's the Pareto principle. 80% of your customers account for 20% of your profitability. 20% of your customers account for 80% of your profitability. Where should you focus?
Hold on. I can do this math.
I cannot. Me and math, we are mortal enemies. Quick story, my wife is having my son do math, and I hate math. And she was like, you really need this stuff. And I was like, do you though? Do you?
You need to be quiet.
And she was like, stop doing that. And I was like, I know it's about brain functioning, but I just hate it. Hate math.
Don't do that, right?
No. I probably could have done better in math.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, but here we are.
Here we are.
Exactly.
No math required.
No math, right?
No math required.
I'm a math guy.
Right.
I am a math guy. So really just grateful for you, grateful to have you here. All of these intersections that we've kind of created and talked about, they're real, right?
100%.
And we talk about for intersection for this podcast is, the business, philanthropy, and civic community, right? And you referenced, intersection, I don't know, a half dozen times because it's real, right?
Yeah.
We find ourselves at a crossroads. We find ourselves at an intersection, right? And what do we do with that? So you mind just kind of tying a bow on that, and then we can say goodnight?
I saw at the Welcome Conference this great speaker, and he said the person in front of you is not an accident. And
so interesting.
Yeah, he was talking about customer experience. So that you are meant to be the person to serve that customer in that moment. I think in your world, when looking at philanthropy or looking at people trying to consider who to donate or whatever, like it's not an accident that you and this person met. The person in front of you isn't a mistake. The person in front of you isn't just a meet cute.
Right.
Like there's a reason why your two paths crossed at this moment, and you may not know what that is, and neither do they. But don't look at that person in front of you as just, oh, what a little bit accidental bump in.
Right.
There's probably some big plan that you're not aware of yet.
There's something more to it.
Yeah,
It's not transactional,
yeah.
right? And
not to quote Joel Embiid, but trust the process.
Trust the process, right? Exactly.
Like lean in on the idea that there's something working here.
Right.
Yeah. I think I heard that quote that the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Like on the other side of this bit of work you have to do is a great possibility.
Right. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That was philosophy time with Frank and RJ.
Exactly.
And,
welcome.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on the intersection. Very excited that we had Frank on today.
Yeah.
And watch, like, comment. We love comments. Subscribe, and back to Frank for final word.
Thanks for watching. And thanks for listening. I know that time is one of the most valuable commodities. Attention is an asset. And the fact that you took the time to listen to this, it's important. And listen, I've known RJ for basketball and all those things, but if you want to donate to anything, I've donated to a bunch of different causes. I have. And this is a cause that's worthy. my big thing is keep fighting the good fight. There's
Amen.
a fight out there that's worth fighting. This is one of them. You're helping people every single day that need help in communities. So if you don't know, go find Oak Leyden and help them.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
The Intersection by Oak Leyden.